My mother was always a caring soul. During my early years of primary school, my mum would always deliver and retrieve me. At the end of every day when I was driven home, there would always be a large tray of fresh, warm cookies waiting for me. The small wisp of scented smoke rising off the mounds of baked dough and chocolate would always curl from the kitchen to my nostrils and fill me with glee. My mum baked them before she had left to take me home from school, of course. If ever I had a bad day, whether it be receiving a poor result on a class test or receiving a Chinese burn from a school bully, the smell of cookies baked by my mum's fair hand would replace my unhappiness with a sense of belonging and a stately fact that I would always be loved by my mother, no matter how badly school treated me. On a summer's day, at the end of a rather more productive day in the classroom and on the playground, I waited for my mum's Volkswagen to emerge round the corner from the school grounds it stood on. I eagerly awaited a new batch of after-school cookies. I hopped from foot to foot in anticipation, ignoring the looks and the giggles I received from my friends. When my mum pulled into the school car park, I rushed over to her, threw open the door, and leapt into the front seat. She greeted me with a wide smile and ruffled my hair before proceeding to ask me how my day was. As always, I told her it was fine, and I gave her the classic schoolboy answer, "Stuff," when she asked me what I did in class. She laughed, eased off the handbrake, and began the journey home. She talked to me about how she had weeded the garden, talked to our neighbor, and drank lemonade while enjoying the summer breeze. I responded politely, saying things like, "That's nice," and "Yes, Mum, that sounds great." I didn't care, not really. My little childish brain only had one thing going through it: cookies, cookies, cookies! Although I wasn't really listening, the parts that I caught sounded wrong somehow. Well, not exactly wrong, just a little inaccurate. Even at that age, I could recognize when my mother's daily routine had altered, or when a regular event was changed. For example, when she talked about how, after weeding the garden, she watered the tulips on the balcony. The tulips were beside the back door step in a large pot. Also, she said that she was talking to Janice across the street, even though it was Michael and Hannah that lived across the street. Janice lived nearly several blocks away. I waved it off as a symptom of old age. My mum was 34 at the time. Stupid, I know, but I was only 7 years old. I didn't have room in my head for a question anyway. I was too busy focusing on cookies. When we stopped inside our house, I was about to run into the kitchen to sink my teeth into one of those cookies, but stopped. I knew the smell of my mother's hand baking from a mile away, and the air I was breathing did not carry the scent of her cookies. I mean, yes, it smelled very similar, I suppose, but there were subtle differences in what I was inhaling. "Mum, did you bake these cookies yourself today?" I asked. "Yes, of course, dear. I always do, don't I?" She gave a little smile. "Yeah, but, I guess they just smell a little different. That's all." A look of puzzlement crossed her face and she frowned. Then her confusion gave way to realization, and she said, "Oh yes, well, I suppose they do smell a little different. I just changed 1 or 2 ingredients. I thought you might be getting a little bored with the same cookies." I paused for a moment, replying, "Oh, okay, Mum." My mother never changed any of the ingredients in her recipes, especially in her baking. Once again, I dismissed it as simply wanting to spice up her cooking a little bit, and followed her into the kitchen, where the cookies sat laying on the counter. I was about to reach over and take one off the tray, but before I could, my mother snatched one up and wolfed it down in 2 bites. I froze in place, my pudgy hand still wavering in the air. The feelings of love, happiness, and affection my mum's cookies always brought were replaced with shock and disbelief. I always was allowed the first cookie. It may seem silly, I know, but it was an unspoken rule shared between my mother and I. I would always have the first cookie. It wasn't like I was selfish or greedy or nothing. I wasn't. I was just so used to having the first one, it was second nature by now. "Mum, what are you doing?" I cried, my voice cracking a little. My mum looked at me in surprise, genuinely confused. "What's the matter?" she said. "Did you want them on a plate?" Now I was beginning to think that something was amiss. The strange inconsistency in the car I could understand. The changing of the standard ingredients was, while rather strange, I could understand. The fact that my mother could not remember our own cookie rule scared me, though. I simply stood and stared, still flabbergasted. My mum picked up the tray and held it out towards me. "I'm sorry, son. I'll remember to put them on a plate next time. Just try one. They're really good." She gave an insincere little grin. I looked up at my mother's still smiling face and then back at the cookies. Suddenly, my 7-year-old imagination started thinking about the reasons why the ingredients had changed, and why my mum had eaten the cookie first. These reasons were ridiculous and incredibly childish, but looking back, the idea that grew within me could well have saved my life. I thought that she had perhaps poisoned them with something that only worked on children, and that she ate only one to try and prove to me that they were indeed edible. I trembled as I shook my head. No, thank you, Mum. I'm really not hungry anymore." My mother raised an eyebrow and wrinkled up her face. "Now don't be silly. Here, have a cookie. I'll be hurt if you don't eat them." Once again, thoughts of my mother poisoning the cookies or putting something bad in them entered in my head. Visions of rancid black liquid oozing out of the dough merged into my head. "No, Mum, I really don't want any right now," I said softly, trying to hide the fear that was building inside of me. "Just eat a cookie. That's a good boy." I don't know why, but the way my mother said that statement just tipped me over the edge and sent me on a surge of adrenaline that ran through my body. "No!" I screeched, and I ran to the front door, flinging it open and charging down the street. I remembered my dad telling me if I was ever in trouble to head to Gran's house, which was half a block away. So I did just that. When she answered the door, I threw myself in and began to cry, curled up in the fetal position. Once she calmed me down, I told her the whole story of my mum, the strange contradictions and the cookies. When I was done, I noticed that my Gran had gone pale, and she stared flatly in the distance. She was silent for a long time. Eventually, though, she began to talk to me, telling me that what I described was impossible. I sat on the floor, wiped my eyes, and looked confusedly up. When I asked, she said shakily, "Because your mother came to visit this afternoon, and she only just left to fetch you from school 5 minutes ago." Well, wasn't that fun, kids? Of course it was. Look forward to more in the future just like this, and scarier, I'm sure. If you like this one, hit the subscribe button on my right. And check out my latest video, The Holder of Life. You can hit the link on the left. My left. Thanks for stopping by, and as always, sweet dreams and pleasant nightmares.